talk about building a bank. So let me ask you, who here has built a bank? Raise your hand. Oh, you have built a bank? Okay, all right. Who has woken up this morning and thought, well, I'm thinking of building a bank? You too. Oh, so many. Cool. Wow. I'm excited to see new banks in the space. Our next guest is someone who had that idea almost 20 years ago, in the year 2000, and everyone thought he was crazy because he founded a new bank when we didn't talk about fintech and we didn't talk about blockchain. That was, again, think back, the year 2000. We didn't have smartphones, the internet, the dot-com bubble just burst. So he's an expert in the finance industry, an economist, a banker. He has a lot of experience. He founded 3 successful startups, mBank and Multibank and Bank Smart. And I'd like you to give him a huge round of applause. His name is Sławomir Lachowski. Good morning.
Morning, everybody.
How are you?
Actually, fine, very fine. It's a pleasure to be here, especially if you think about the place. I'm, doing a lot of speeches all over the world about fintech and how to do the business in the turbulent times. But to speak at the fintech event in Łódź, in my place, in my town, is very special.
Well, it's great to have you. And you just published an article that was published in a Polish newspaper. And let me just quote something that you wrote. You said, "Nothing will be as it used to be because technology and a new generation of customers will change banking. The fintech revolution will sweep away those who, instead of learning how to swim, will remain like a stone in the river." And I thought it was very interesting. I mean, for the past couple of years, there was intense discussions about the banking industry, disruption, fintech, startup scenes. But you were, at that point, almost 20 years ago, in the year 2000. So tell us, how did you come up with that idea? What was your motivation? Why did you start a bank?
So, as a matter of fact, if you want to build a startup, especially a bank from scratch, it's a bit of luck, knowledge, and experience. So first is to have an idea, then to be right place, right time, and last but not least, have the right people. So in the year 2000, I was certainly right time to start internet bank, not internet banking. So we were at the time actually certain that this is not about evolutionary change in the banking industry to provide slightly better service or better products. What we wanted to do is to change the world of finance. So that is why, the motto of the work we had was have fun, work hard, make history. And this is what mBank did.
It sounds so easy now, but I can imagine, that in the year 2000, when you started this, a lot of people thought you were just crazy, and it wasn't that easy. What were like the main challenges that you faced?
Actually, it was kind of crazy. My colleagues in the banking business were saying this is a kind of marketing advertise, not a business. But once they learned that mBank acquires 2,000 customers a day and grows in the pace that made the bank within a few years' time the 3rd largest in Poland, and after starting the business operation in Czech Republic and Slovakia, soon became also the 4th and 3rd bank respectively, then this is not a crazy thing. If I hear even guys here on this conference telling you that what you expect and what you can count on is evolutionary changes. And people tend to talk about changes in terms of evolutionary changes. What the startup people do, they dream about disruption. They dream about disruptive changes, disruptive business models, disruptive operating models. It's not to actually, invent new technology. It's to adapt existing technologies to better serve customers' needs. And the customers change. This is why, what I say is, the dinosaurs dominate the landscape of Paris like this, Frankfurt, and they are all over the places. But, this is not only about the size. So to pretend to be like boutiques on the high street with high street branches, but, when you think what Bill Gates said, 20 years ago, that the banks are dinosaurs. They can be bypassed. And last but not least, banking is necessary. Banks are not. This is actually what proves today when there's a lot of fintech startups out there in payment industry, in lending, in peer-to-peer lending, and in the wealth management, who aspire not only to be successful, they aspire to compete with the incumbents, and I think they have a fair chance to succeed, because what this is decisive for what happens in the financial services is not technology. It's actually the customers changing lifestyle, and in the slow pace of adaptation to what happens to the customers in incumbent banks. This is our chance of those who dream to build up a new bank, new fintech, and be successful.
So what was it exactly that you weren't happy about back in the year 2000? What was your motivation? Did you, as a customer, did you say, well, I don't like how banking is done these days, or what triggered it?
Those days, there were queues not only in the branch. There were queues before, at the branches before the branches opened. So what I wanted is to make the bank in the hand's reach. The bank, which is accessible 24/7, is today a rule. But 18 years ago, to name the bank, mBank, which stands for mobile, was quite, let's say, risky issue. Today, smartphone and mobile is a buzzword, right? But at that time, there wasn't smartphone in the pocket. It was ordinary mobile handset. And to tell yourself, we want to build a bank which is in the hand's reach, and what's in the hand's reach is in the pocket. Today is smartphone. At those days it was a mobile phone, and we did it because from the first day, mBank provided some of the operations on the mobile handset as well. Today, this is mobile banking.
So you were a dreamer, a visionary, and you just went for it. You just started doing it. But I can imagine, a lot of people were not really happy that you were starting a new bank. So what were the challenges? Did you get a lot of angry reactions from the banks?
I mean, it's when you are building a startup and you want to succeed, it's not about the competition loves you. They don't like you. The competition is friendly because of the rules, but must be, a hard ball. If you don't play hard but fair, never succeed.
And we talk a lot about disruption today and tomorrow, and we have these startup battles on the Inspire space, lots of young people, lots of great new ideas. So as an experienced founder, what would your advice be to these young people, to these startups that are trying to disrupt the finance industry?
It's not about ideas, because today it seems like every student has an idea and dream to build a startup and change the world. What counts in the startup, in the business as a whole, is actually the determination. You this is not that, you know, if things happen overnight first, and then the things happen, you know, from the start. You need to be patient. You need to be determined. You need a lot of work. And, you know, I will again repeat what I said as a motto of the mBank team. You know, work hard, have fun, which means working hard 24 hours a day is not enough. It is bad for you. So work hard, have fun, and then once you are right place, right time, with the right idea, you have a chance to change the world.
And what's your take on collaboration? I mean, we talk a lot about networking, collaborating, and not isolating the startups from the big banks. So, I mean, it could be a win-win situation, and both parties need each other?
Yes, if you talk about the collaboration nowadays, you think about the cooperation between companies. But collaboration is actually the most important in a team, as a teamwork. Then, you know, there are ambitions, they are different characters. So when you start with collaboration within the team, and sharing the knowledge, experience, and be ready to help each other. And not only if you are successful, then you find a lot of people who are jealous, but you find also a lot of people who want to help you, quote unquote, cooperate, right? But if you fail, then the decisive thing is, you know, to find people who are ready to help you and cooperate. So, I mean, this is one of the most important, even not actually critical issues, both in the company internally and in the outside world, when you cannot do nowadays everything by yourself. You actually must cooperate, collaborate, name it as you want. This is.
And that's what we're here. I mean, we have a very exclusive crowd here. We have lots of chances to network, to meet new people.
You know, this is to meet people who are ready to share, who are open, because you know there are a lot and this is what I find, you know, and the events like this, the most important. That the people who come are not only to learn from others and not sharing, you know, his or her own experience and knowledge. This is because if it is not, you know, the dual exchange and reciprocity, then there is no actually no effect you expect to be. So use it. You will find here, and I tell you, this a few years ago it was unimaginable. Not only to see so much people in Poland, in which even I didn't dream about it. And now I take part in the conference with, okay, let's say 2,000 people from all over the world, and mostly from Poland. We talk in English, and everybody, you know, understands it and participate. This is how the time changed, and so we changed.
So let me ask you about mBank. Where does it stand today? What's the situation for you?
So, you know, I left mBank some years ago and actually started what I think is a new chance to disrupt the market. It is not a retail bank. You know, nowadays, you saw the CEO of Tandem, and you will see, you know, many of challengers in UK, in Germany, US, all over the places. What I think is the momentum to change the financial industry is actually wealth management. And wealth management not defined by the private banking and the millionaires, actually by the people who are affluent and need products and way of doing managing, you know, and a way of managing their assets effectively and having access to what was restricted actually to the private banking. So now, you know, the conventional wisdom in wealth management still is, as it was before in retail, that the customers need advisor. They need advisor, face-to-face conversation, and last but not least, elegant branches. So what I think is exactly what I thought 18 years ago. The customers, the customers increasingly don't need advice. What they need is information and the platform to do what they want to do. And this is my new baby, you know, in integration of digital banking and wealth management, being worldwide brokerage, portfolio management, and mutual funds. And you know, if you study the story of mBank, you will find a lot of similarities, you know, between those two projects, even if it is not the same. You never do the same projects in startup business, especially if you want to be, you know, disruptive. And again, disruptive is actually, you know, the hope for startups to make something which is not only, you know, for the goods of the existing companies or to sell yourself, because there's also the strategy in the startup business and in the fintech industry. But for me, a startup as a bank is to build up the bank which serves the customers. Could be a niche, could be mainstream. In a way, nobody can compete with you. And this is, you know, the way how I see and do and try to do the business.
And we talk so much about technology, all these new possibilities, but recently a lot of things have been happening in the regulations market. We have seen PSD2, GDPR, the UK, Germany, Poland have new regulations. They're opening up these markets. What's your opinion on these developments?
I mean, PSD2 is certainly, you know, just the breakthrough of regulatory issue. And once it is, you know, implemented, it will give a chance for the fintech community, not to help banks be better, to make the business better than banks.
As a last question, let me ask you, what does your crystal ball say? What do you think is going to happen in the future? What are the next developments that we're going to see in Poland and maybe all across Europe and the world?
I mean, there's a lot of discussion about blockchain and actually disintermediation. And when you think seriously about blockchain, then you will then you will come to the conclusion then you don't need institutions at all. This maybe happens, and I hope it happens in 20 years. But for the time being, what I want to see is, you know, the financial services changing in a rapid, revolutionary way, using the technology and satisfying the customers who change, whose life, work, and education changes.
So Amir, thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences and your thoughts on the developments. All the best to your business in the future, and you know, we live in exciting times. Exciting to see what the future will bring. Thank you very much for being here.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be in Łódź.